my computer's been like deleting some of my notes and stuff as I write. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyways, okay, so I decided this week's message was going to be Matthew 25, 14 through 30, talking about security in God. So we'll go ahead and read 25, 14 through 30. Let's see, is this it? Yeah. For it is just like a man about to go on a journey. He called his own servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, depending on each one's ability. Then he went on a journey. Immediately the man who had received 5 talents went, put them to work, and earned 5 more. In the same way, the man with 2 earned 2 more. But the man who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 talents presented 5 more talents, and said, Master, you gave me 5 talents. See, I've earned 5 more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Share your master's joy. The man with 2 talents also approached. He said, Master, you gave me 2 talents. See, I've earned 2 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Share your master's joy. The man who had received 1 talent also approached and said, Master, I know you. You're a harsh man, reaping where you haven't sown and gathering where you haven't scattered seed. So I was afraid and went off and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. His master replied to him, You evil, lazy servant. If you knew that I reap where I haven't sown and gather where I haven't scattered, then you should have deposited my money with the bankers, and I would have received my money back with interest when I returned. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have more than enough. But from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. And throw this good-for-nothing servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, this is, I guess, it's a popular parable, but just a couple of things. So when we're talking about security and insecurity, security is the state of being free from danger or threat, and then you have insecurity, which is uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, lack of confidence, the state of being open to danger or threat, lack of protection, and those are important later on. But this past week, insecurity, that word has just been coming up in almost all my conversations with various people that I've been talking to. A friend of mine and I discussed some of our own insecurities and how most were developed when we were younger, whether it was from our parents, our peers. She mentioned how her parents also, they always told her not to intrude on other people's time. There is a certain amount of time that she could spend with someone, and then she needed to be home. Even if being home meant just literally sitting there with them. The parents that felt that if she spent too much time with whoever it was, that she was taking away the time that that person needed, even if that person would say no, I want them here, or I want her here. And sorry, I thought I heard a kitten.
I heard something in the background. Like a squeak.
It's a squeaky toy. I panicked and thought my family had brought home a freaking cat. And I was like, no, not another animal. Okay. Anyways, so if she stayed too long, she was considered intruding or becoming a bother to that person. So when she met me and I'd ask her to hang out, she never wanted to do it too often or stay too long, even though I would literally extend the invite to do so, until she finally told me she didn't want to get in my way of doing things that I needed to do. And then I had to make sure she knew that when I would invite her to do things with me or a group of people, she was not a bother. She was not in the way. She was not taking up any type of my time because I invited her to purposefully give her my time. And that was a concept that was hard for her to understand because she was like, I was trained not to do that, pretty much. And there are other types of like insecurities too. Like there's relationship insecurity, job insecurity, financial insecurity, body image insecurity, social insecurity, basic need insecurity. Literally everything and anything can be an insecurity. But last year I struggled a lot with social insecurity. I did not have confidence in any type of social setting. I participated in, I sat in the back. I didn't like, I talked to like a small group of people, but I never really would branch out of that group. I worried if the group of people liked me, if I was going to say the wrong thing. I was worried about being awkward, afraid my friends wouldn't actually like me, and that they were only my friend because they felt bad for me, and so on and so on. Like all of these things was just like in my head the whole year, just like worried about every person in that social setting. The social insecurity turned into like a social anxiety though, that ended up pushing people away and made one of my worst fears come true. I was then alone. There were still people, but I had created my own prison and self-isolation, because I had already written the other people's point of view in my story, and that wasn't fair of me. So when I was originally writing this Bible study, I was actually focusing on another passage, which I'll use actually at the end. But it was Psalm 61, by the way, if you want to read it. But that's where I was. And I realized that was more of like how we should handle things and how we should react in different situations with our insecurities. And then I came across this one. So as we read, we've got a guy, I gave them names. Okay, Cara. So we've got 5-talent Freddie. We've got 2-talent, I think I gave Tommy. And the third one I just named Will. I was like, all right, it's one syllable. So the master is leaving on his journey. He entrusted these guys and everything, gave them a certain amount, but different amounts. And something that I noticed is that Freddie and Tommy immediately went out to trade their talents and doubled the investment. And then Will, for fear of his master, buries his talent of silver and returns it to the master later on. And pretty much the point of the parable, and I'm going to break it down, this isn't the end of the Bible study, but the point of the parable is that disciples must use the gifts that they have, whatever it may be. Disciples do not all have the same gifts at all, but all disciples must use what they have in service for the master or God. So being involved is part of being prepared for all of this. However, some of us can be that third servant. We don't invest in what the Lord has given us out of fear or scarcity. We put our security in worldly things instead of godly things. So one of the first, I guess, points that I have is like fear causes latching. So I don't know if you ever heard of me getting on the jet ski with Amanda and Red.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, for a little laugh, you know how scared I am of water and lakes and literally all the above. So anyways, we go to Amanda's lake house and they really want to get on the jet ski. And I was like, all right, I'll hang back. I'm going to work on a Bible study. Y'all go do your thing. They weren't having that at all. And they were like, you're getting on the jet ski. I was like, okay, whatever. So Amanda, though, promises. She goes, Nicole, you're not going to get in the water. You're going to be in between me and Red. And I was like, you promise? And she was like, you have my word. So we go. She starts off really slow. It's fine. And then she takes off out of nowhere and I could not breathe. I've never been on a jet ski before. So I was like freaking out, but I'm also an adrenaline junkie, so I was loving it all at once. And everything was fine until a boat comes flying by us and homegirl doesn't have enough time to like avoid the waves coming off the boat. So she hits it dead on. We go up and we're all in the water.
She hits the boat?
No, not the boat, the waves.
Oh, gotcha.
The
I was
waves.
like, I did not hear this at
No,
all.
you would have, not the boat, the waves. So she hits the waves. And so jet ski's upside down. We're all in the water. They come up, they're laughing, having a grand old time, think it's the funniest thing in the world. I come up, and there's just fear in my eyes. I am choking on water. I can't get a good breath of air, and I am clinging on to an upside down jet ski. Like, literally clinging. It was like you dipped a cat in a tub. That's how I looked right there. And so Amanda and Red, they are trying to flip the jet ski over. I didn't care how I got on there. I wasn't even going on the right way. They kept going, you need to go up the ladder. And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't even speak. And I'm like going up the side of the jet ski, just clinging. I was like army crawling up. I get on, and I'm just like sitting there, like just gasping for air. I did not care though, like at all, the amount of bruises I was getting. I did not care about the scratches that was all over my legs at that point, because I had hit everything trying to get on that jet ski. But I was literally clinging to that thing out of pure fear of being in that water. And the reason why I added that into the Bible study is because many of us act like that when we hit some of life's rough, uneasy waters, when we feel we are no longer floating with the current, but we are now fighting against the current, we panic. We start to grab hold of anything and anyone we can. And I've talked about, like last year, a couple of times in my different Bible studies. But for me, I always clung on to people. I was in a state of constant panic. When I found people who showed like the smallest inkling of love and support, I'd grab hold and I wouldn't let go. I was so busy grasping onto what was like right in front of me. I was so busy focusing on trying to get onto that jet ski. I didn't notice or feel the bruises or scratches I was creating on my skin. I didn't notice or feel my wounds deepening in that season of life. I didn't notice the hurt I was causing those other people, because I was in a state of panic all the time. Out of fear, Will, in the parable, he hid his talent. Out of fear of losing it, he hid it. He didn't trust that it would grow. And Tommy and Freddie didn't care how much was produced after their investment. Their joy was born in the process of trusting that it was going to grow. Fear causes many things, but it ultimately causes panic. When someone is in a state of panic, they're not thinking clearly. I was not listening to Amanda and Red when they're like, literally use the little ladder at the back of the jet ski. Didn't know there was a ladder on that thing until after the fact, and I was already on there. Their judgment is not the best. Their decisions aren't the greatest. It becomes a fight or flight response. So for some, it feels like you genuinely can't breathe. So when you can't breathe, you become restless. When I was working with adults, I've had a patient before, just out of nowhere, go from laying peacefully to completely restless. And when we checked his oxygen, it had dropped. He couldn't breathe anymore. And he started to grab and hold on to anything he felt that could provide that oxygen. Like he was grasping onto it, and that's how we do in these life situations. If you don't grab hold of the Lord, though, you are grabbing onto the things of this world. The things of this world do not and will not last. There isn't a single person or thing that can give you the breath in your lungs that they need, because Jesus is the one who already breathed air into our lungs, and he does it every single day for us. So if you cling to something that is not of or is God, it will not help us grow at all. It won't be a wise investment, and it will give the enemy exactly what he wants. And so my second point was scarcity causes inadequacy. I have a problem saying these words. I don't know why I picked them, but whatever. It doesn't matter how many talents you started with, it's how quickly you can flip them and invest. So notice that the first two servants, in my version, it says that they immediately went out. He immediately started using them, because God is a multiplier. He can multiply what you invest in. So you have to invest in it quickly before the devil snatches it back. I don't know if you know the parable of the seed. Where do you in Matthew 13?
Yeah.
So the sower, he's sowing these seeds, and some are devoured by the birds, and some fall on rocky ground. They're scorched by the sun, and others are choked out by thorns. And then others did produce fruit. But in the verses 18 and 19, I believe, in chapter 13, it says, "For anyone who hears the word of God and you don't understand it, the devil comes and snatches it." It immediately gets snatched. Think about all the times the Lord has spoken to either me or you, and a distraction takes it. A fight on the way to church snatches it. A confrontation has snatched it. The thoughts of what else you must do that day has completely snatched your focus of staying on God. So when you live in scarcity, whether it is money, relationships, friendships, when you feel you I'm trying to think of how to word it. My notes were so scattered. I literally prepared this morning, so I'm really sorry. But the feeling of inadequacy comes from that feeling of scarcity, because at that point you feel less than because you don't have enough. So last year, when I felt I was living in scarcity when it came to friendships, no possible relationship on the horizon, I started living in a way that made me feel inadequate. I felt uninvited, rejected, unloved. And because I felt unloved and uninvited and rejected, I lived unloved, uninvited, and rejected. I didn't participate in activities with friends. I secluded myself from others. And when I was around those people, I felt unloved, uninvited, and rejected. And so therefore I acted as such. And I felt like I had to act in a way that could gain their love, instead of already feeling like I was loved. I felt inadequate, so I did everything I could to feel adequate. And as you know, I'm a 2 on the Enneagram personality test, so I'm a helper. So when I
retook it, and I thought I was a 6.
Yeah.
Every time that I take it, I'm like a 2. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm a 6. I'm definitely a 2. But when I'm like unhealthy 2, I turn to a 6. Anyways, I'm a 2 as well.
Same. I'm at that same point. But when I feel inadequate, and maybe you can relate to this, to make myself feel adequate, I spread myself unbelievably thin, because I can't say no to a single human being. I go out and buy other foods. Like if they're hungry, I go pick it up. I go run errands for people. I support them emotionally when I couldn't even handle my own emotions. When I was working at Emory, I was using every spare moment to work at the camp down the road from me as well. I was drained. I was exhausted. And at the end of it, I still didn't feel adequate. No matter how much helping or serving I did, none of it made me feel adequate. And your adequacy is not defined by how much you start with or how much you have of something. It is not defined by how many friends you have. It is not defined by how much money you have, although a lot of money would be nice. It is not defined on if you're married, single, have kids, don't have kids, your job title, or where you're living. Your adequacy is immeasurable to God, because He knows that you are already adequate through Him and Him alone. So Freddie and Tommy from the parable, I don't know why I named these people. Freddie and Tommy immediately made investments. So if you feel scarce in any area of life, the solution is to give it to God. That's where you invest it. So there's one more part of this though. So yes, invest with what you receive. That's what we have established, but that goes for the Word of God as well. Because I think a lot of people sit back and they soak up sermons or Bible studies, but they don't do anything with the information that they've been given. So if God blesses you with friends, invest. If God blesses you with income, invest. If God blesses you with His living Word, you have to invest. Invest in your salvation. And how you do that is you take what you read, you take the sermons you listen to, you take the Bible studies that you participate in, and you spread them. You immediately go out and tell others. That's your investment. So if you hold on to it and never talk about it, then that is a seed that will never grow. It will never see the light of day. You take the word that you were given, you multiply it so quickly before the enemy can snatch it, and it begins to bear fruit in your life because you treated it as seed. When you treat the word as seed and you invest it back, either through sharing it with someone else or acting on it, you've got to act on what God gives you before you can talk yourself out of it. And I have found that 9 times out of 10, if I don't act on something immediately, I will never do it. I will never do it. And Tommy and Freddie went immediately to invest, but it took a long time because it says that he went on a journey. A journey is not a little like Walmart trip. A journey is you're gone a long time. So it took a long time before the master came back. It took time for their talents to mature, but they had to act on it immediately. So you have to be able to flip whatever it is, the insecurity, whatever's going on, you have to flip it from word to flesh form. So me feeling unloved and acting unloved, if I flip it, and this has been a lot of like training my mind, and I still struggle with this. This is not something I am over. I'm still in it. But I tell myself I am loved, and I look at how God has loved me, and I read in the Bible the plethora of passages where God demonstrates and says he loves me, and I let my flesh and my bones soak that up, and then, and only then, can I live loved. When I live loved, I no longer feel the need to gain love from the people around me. Living loved allows me to share my fruit instead of feeling like I need to eat on the leftover compliments that someone has to offer me. My stomach is full, my heart is full. I don't need leftovers. So you invest in your time, in your money, in your relationships, friendships, your job. Invest in them in the right way, and you won't feel a lack of, you will feel an overflow. And so the last point I have is security in the Lord. Because many of us always want to put security in the things of this world, and that causes insecurities. So when you attach your security to stuff or your significance to status, it's never going to be enough. And I've been there where I've attached security to something or someone, or not really status wise. I don't care about my status. I just know I'm Nicole. But the reason why Will hid his one talent, if we relate it to modern day times, how many times do we end up being so proud of something, and then we get on social media and we're like, that doesn't compare to that. Well, this person has this going on. And so homeboy, if he had like Snapchat, Instagram, whatever, if he got on there, he'd be like, why do I only have one talent and they have talents? Freddie and them got 5. Tommy's got 2. I have 1. So he's got this one talent, and just like that, he's feeling bad about the talent that the master gave him. Because it's how we count it that matters. So a talent, it's like a measure of weight, a unit of, it's how they measure like silver and gold, like other precious metals, but mostly silver and gold. So I had to do a lot of math today. Actually, I just Googled this. But if we take silver, so the amount of silver you would have to weigh a talent is 6,000 days of pay for a day laborer, according to Google. So in today's time, that's like around 1 million. But if we contrast it to like 2 and 5, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's still 1 million. It's still 1 million. I don't know about you, Cara, but I would love to receive 1 million. That'd be amazing. That would be incredible. I could quit and never work at, I would still want to work at Showa though. My last job, I'd 100% quit and never look back if I received 1 million. I would just go part-time though. I would go part-time at Showa.
Mm-hmm. Same. with Wilson's, yeah, absolutely.
I don't have, like, when you, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but I think sometimes we start to kick ourselves. So we start to feel like, well, I don't have anything to feel proud of right now. I don't have anything to feel good about right now. Especially when we are comparing ourselves on social media, like I said. It's so, in my season, I don't know about you, Cara, but when I get on Instagram, there is a wedding, I swear, every day. Every day.
Every weekend, it's like an engagement, baby announcement.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Weddings. Yeah, I'm same. I'm right there with you.
Yep. I'm getting asked to be in weddings instead of me asking people to be in my wedding. That's where when you start to get on social media and you start to compare that, it's so easy to be like, I feel behind. I feel like I'm not where I should be, and all of these other different things. So when we start to feel like that, though, and we start to feel like the devil, he's telling us that you don't have anything and you're not anything, because he will do that every single day. We still have a million. We still have a talent. And we're just over here like, a million means nothing. A million means I can go part-time. A million means I can move out of this house. A million means a lot. A million means I could get a freaking new car. That'd be nice. Even though I literally just got that last year. But anyways, we want to put that word only in front of the blessings that God has given us. But we have to break down our blessings sometimes to kind of see the big picture. It's not, sometimes the things that we have that we say only in front of, it's like things that we've prayed for months for. Years, possibly. It's something that we've asked God for. We've come a long way from where we've been. We've made a great distance in our lives. And we're just over here going, well, I only have that. I only have this. And it's like, it's such a wake-up call when you put it in perspective like that. When you look at where you were. When you look at the things that you prayed for. And now you have some of them. You're right here where you wish to be years ago. And it's just, especially now, especially since I've got my job at Cho, that's like been the big picture. That's like what I've been seeing. But we still have a million. We still have all of these blessings that God has placed in front of us. And if God does nothing else for us, whether it's for you, for me, he has already done so much in our lives. He canceled our sins. He gave us purpose. He has put a crown on our heads. He has given us everything we need. And that's all in our talent. That's all in our blessings. And the devil will try to get us to downplay the deposit God gave us in order to diminish the gift in our eyes. Every single time. And because our security is sometimes misplaced, we start to compare our behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. That's all social media is. It's a highlight reel. It is not their real life. And you have to, I have to train my own self to get on there and be like, this is the highlight of their day. This is not everything they did to even get to that point to take that picture. So finding ourselves made whole in Christ lets us retreat inward to a place of solace, to pause before reacting, and to speak and behave with intention instead of a place covered in panic and scarcity. This means we can choose our words carefully and without selfish intent. It means we can live loved because we know we are. It means we don't have to worry about what to do and what's not because God already has it covered in some way, shape, or form. We don't have to be filled with shame or guilt or fear because he covered it all when he died on the cross for us. It's covered. And so kind of to conclude all of this, Kyle never joined us. I just realized that. Homeboy. Anyways.
You can watch it later.
Yeah, he can watch it later. But we have 5 talents, 2 talents, 1 talent. And we have to figure out which one we are. And most people would probably say 1. And I've been in seasons where that was like my answer. I would be like, I've got 1 talent. That's it. Whether it's a real talent or it's money-wise, homeboy, I've only got $20 on me. That's it. So it's like we come in these seasons where we feel like we just have one of something or less than somebody else. I felt I didn't have much, wasn't given much. Those seasons where I felt like my resources were scarce and I was overwhelmed with fear of losing the little I had, I started putting my security in the item that was only temporary. I was putting my faith, my love, my attention, my focus into something that would not hold me up, would not be there for me later on. And I was upholding that item of security to only godly expectations. And that's what I finally had to realize. Whether it was a person, a hope, a desire, a dream, an emotion, feeling, where I placed my worthiness, the deciding factor of if I was enough, I was expecting the object or person to give me all of those things that only God himself can give me. No human, no item, whether it's your soulmate, husband, wife, best friend, the amount of money you have, the type of job you have, you can't expect any of that to make you happy and keep you fulfilled, because that is the Lord's job. And
Preach!
what?
I said preach. I lose my voice. I have lost my voice, but that was like an amen moment.
Oh my gosh, Cora. You scared the living snot out of me, actually. But I am still gonna read Psalm 61 because it's good. It's in this Bible. It's like the title Security in God. But it says, God, hear my cry, pay attention to my prayer. I call to you from the ends of the earth when my heart is without strength. Lead me to a rock that is high above me, for you have been a refuge for me, a strong tower in the face of the enemy. I will dwell in your tent forever and take refuge under the shelter of your wings. God, you have heard my vows. You have given a heritage to those who fear your name. Add days to the king's life. May his years span many generations. May he sit enthroned before God forever. Appoint faithful love and truth to guard him. Then I will continually sing of your name, fulfilling my vows day by day. Psalm 61, that is an example of what we should do when we become overwhelmed and filled with these insecurities. God takes so much pride in being there for us. He wants to fulfill us. He wants to love us, and he wants to be our rock when the waves come crashing against us. And he wants to place us on higher ground. But we have to talk to him. We have to tell him. We have to cry out to him. You can't go to your best friend. You can't go to your husband, wife, and expect them to solve problems that only he can solve. You can't quit your job because every day isn't rainbows and unicorns, or you aren't making the money you want. Not need, but want. Jesus says, if you're drowning in financial debt, give your money to me. You're drowning in loneliness, give me your time. You're drowning in social anxieties, bring me into the situation. You're drowning in thoughts about your image, weight, looks, bring it to him, and he will tell you that you were made in his image. You're drowning in the feelings of being uninvited, unnoticed, unloved, rejected. Give it to him, and he will teach you how to live loved. And he will walk with you and place you on the higher ground where you can finally see what he's able to see all along. He's leading you down a path that ultimately should lead to him. And that's all I have.
That was good. That was really good. We're actually, so the church I'm starting to go to down here, we're doing